These 3 simple steps in the end-all objection handling formulas that you're about to learn, you can start using the minute this video ends to confidently overcome any single objection that you will ever face in roofing sales. And this applies both to storm and retail sales. And I'm sure you're thinking, Adam, that is a grand claim. Prove it to me. And I will right now. And if you're new here, my name is Adam Bensman, the Roof Strategist, and I help salespeople and teams just like you develop personal sales strategies to smash your income goal. In order to do that, you got to learn how to overcome objections, because they say coffee's for closers, but to close, we got to overcome some objections. Now, 2 things to cover before we get into this simple 3-step formula. Number 1 is this. First thing I'm going to focus on is the number 1 mistake that most, and I mean that, most if not all salespeople have made at least once in their life, and it is entirely unconscious. All right, that's how we're going to start into this end-all formula in learning the 3 steps. The second thing I want to cover is all of the key takeaways. The one-liner I'm going to teach you are included in today's FAR snapshot. These will come exclusively to your inbox. If you're not already receiving these, email me, adam@roofstrategist.com, or head over to theroofstrategist.com right now. Enter your email. I'll send you a free copy of my Pitch Like a Pro Roofing Sales Training video library, and you'll start receiving these with every episode. Inside is the 3 key takeaways. Any notes, like my one-liner from today. On the back, you're going to find the FAR assignment, which is the Fast Action Results assignment, which is not covered in this video or this podcast, to help you implement what you learned starting right now so you can start seeing results. And then I close with 3 recommended resources, both in my world and outside. And the one for today is an excellent podcast on public speaking. It's going to help you in all your presentations. So go check it out. You ready? All right, last thing. Click that subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss any of these videos coming at you every week. Let's jump right into the end-all objection handling formula. I told you there are 3 steps, and I'm going to cover the first mistake right now, the big mistake, because it's going to lead us into step 1. Imagine this scenario. You're sitting with a customer, whether you're selling storm or retail. Customer says this: your price is too high. The first thing, your knee-jerk response, right, is to answer that and say, you know, we're not too high. We just have we're really valuable, and we do all the line items. We do it for what the insurance says. And you know, if you go with someone cheaper, you're going to get cut rate work. Right? So you get caught on your heels a little bit. You start fumbling and you answer right away. Well, guess what? This is what that feels like to the homeowner. They kind of threw that soft punch. Your price is too high. And then you're like, oh yeah, you're not thinking clearly. So we create this tension, we create this discomfort, and we create this combative feeling. And in our mind as a salesperson, all we're doing is answering the question or trying to overcome the objection. But the main problem is now you have done exactly what people describe as the feeling of having a pushy salesperson there. You cannot be pushy. I'm going to teach you the easy way to do it without being pushy and just do it like a natural in a moment. But first, I need you to explain, to feel this. Like you pose a question, I shoot back. If you called me up and said, Adam, you know, I was dealing with this customer and he didn't want to show me the insurance paperwork, and I said, hey, well, we just do it for what the insurance says, and you need to share me that paperwork because I'm going to help you through the process. And the homeowner didn't sign with me. And I'm thinking, well, you threw a punch back. So think of it in the martial arts form of Aikido. And Aikido, if you're not familiar with it, is an art form designed to help you transfer the energy of your attacker so you don't have to do a thing. So imagine I'm throwing that punch at you, and instead of me punching back, I simply grab your arm and turn and use your own momentum to toss you to the ground. That's the whole foundation of Aikido. So if you think of that objection as a punch, you're simply going to sidestep, grab their arm, and be like, I gotcha, and let them use their own energy. Which brings me to the first step of this formula, because now you know that mistake, by the way, which is just answering the question. I'm going to help you skip it with step 1 of the 3-step end-all objection handling formula, and it is A. What's that stand for? Acknowledge. Acknowledge. What does that mean? It means to simply restate to the customer what they just told you. They say, hey, your price is too high. I say, hey, I totally understand that if you look at the bottom number on my estimate versus this estimate, the dollar amount is higher. There's no doubt about that. So I have acknowledged how they feel, what their perspective is. It is so powerful. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, he just stated the obvious. But that makes me feel better. because he's listening. Then what do? So we've acknowledged it. And same thing, by the way, that applies to both storm or retail. If they say, I don't want to pay my deductible, I could simply say, hey, I totally understand that you might be thinking that you want to try to save some money and not have to pay your deductible, right? Acknowledge, don't go over, you got to pay your deductible or it's fraud and this and that. That comes later in a different way. First, acknowledge. Now what? So and by the way, the biggest tip for this, just repeat back to them what you heard. All right, now what do we do next? R. What does R stand for? Reassure. All right, now I got a funny story for you. To tie this in before we talk roofing, imagine I walk into a doctor and I've got a giant cyst on my face and I'm self-conscious, I'm freaking out, and the doctor goes, whoa, Adam, oh my, I don't know what we're gonna do with you. You must be freaking out right now. I'm gonna go see another doctor. But if I go into that doctor and I got this thing and he goes, Adam, I'm sure you're freaked out about that thing on your face. And I'm like, you bet I am. And he says, hey, rest assured, I've seen this thing like 15 times. I know exactly what to do. We're gonna get you taken care of. May I explain? And I'm like, I am all ears. How are you gonna get this thing off my face? So I know it's a silly story, but it is so true and it applies to sales. And I'll tell you, I have coached sales teams across the US and in Canada, both in the roofing industry and outside the roofing industry. And I have helped teams collectively reach a closing rate of as high as 90% by following a simple principles like I'm teaching you, all based around one very simple concept: making the customer feel heard and understood. So if you're not great at sales, if you don't feel like you know all the tricks, that's okay. This formula is exactly what you've been looking for to take these jabs or objections or questions from customers and turn them into an opportunity to develop a strong likability, that they like you, that they feel comfortable. And this isn't theory. I've proved this with over-the-phone sales, in-person sales, video conferencing sales, in a ton of different industries. It works. So in roofing sales, if the homeowner says, hey, the price is too high, I acknowledge, I say, yes, looking at this item versus this item, it is. And then I reassure, Mr. Homeowner, I'm guessing you're looking for value, right? Like you don't want to overpay for your roof. Everything that you've explained to me is totally normal. And I see it all the time. Now, may I present an answer for you in a perspective that you might not have heard before? And then I'm teeing up for the next one. You see how I acknowledge and then I reassure, you're totally normal. I'll give you another one on the insurance example. A homeowner doesn't want to pay their deductible. Say, hey, I totally understand that you don't want to pay your deductible. I see this a lot. And chances are you're trying to say, hey, by the way, this is the reassure part. You're thinking that maybe you'll see what that contractor and this contractor can do, and you'll compare it to the insurance, and then you're going to try to see if you can pocket some cash. You're reassuring them because it's not your first rodeo. Tell them what they're already thinking. And they're going to say, oh man, this guy's okay, I'm listening. He knows what's up. He's been down this road. He's an expert. And that's what's going through their mind. So by acknowledging and then reassuring, all of a sudden, and we haven't even come to the overcoming part, which is the last step, O for overcome. We're basically gaining permission to give them an alternative perspective. So let's see how this all ties together in a few samples, and then I'm going to leave you with my favorite one-liner to help you draw this out before they even say a word. Ready? All right, so acknowledge what they've said. Repeat back. Mr. Homeowner, totally understand. You're concerned about price, and my price is bigger than their price, correct? And they say yes. Reassure. Well, I'd like to reassure you for a moment that there's more that goes into an estimate than just the dollar amount. There's all these other factors. And I see this a lot because people will compare ours to a competitor, but it's not necessarily apples to apples. However, I respect your consideration of getting the right value when it comes to your roof and not overpaying, because that's your main concern, am I right? And they say yes. So you see, acknowledge, I've reassured, you're normal, I've seen this before. Then we go into overcoming. This is where we explain our point of view and we explain why it is that they need to be on our side. Example, Mr. Homeowner, you see this price and this price, they're nowhere near. I'm a couple $1,000s more. You can do the math, right? And I'm guessing you're like, well, why is that? Honest question, it's probably what they're thinking. So, well, here's the deal. See, this estimate just says remove and replace 30 square roof with a dollar amount. Did this contractor explain how the valleys would be installed? Did they explain if they're using ice and water shield? Did they explain how many rows of ice and water? Did they explain if they're using metal pipe boots or neoprene pipe boots? Did they explain if they're reusing step flashing or installing new? And the homeowner is going to go, what? And you're going to say, no. And that's the problem. So the reason that contractors do this is it's a race to the bottom, because then there's no accountability. You have not the slightest clue what it is they will actually be doing on your roof. But they can do this because as a regular person from the ground, shingles came off, shingles are back, your roof's up there. But with our estimate, you now see line item by line item, the ice and water, the drip edge, the valley installation, that we're using ridge vent, that you're getting metal pipe boots. All of these are itemized, so we're accountable, and you know exactly what we're going to get. Because with cut rate prices comes cut rate work, cut rate products, and a cut rate install. And I'm simply not willing to cut any corners to win your business. So you see how I've looped this together. Acknowledge. I hear what you're saying. Reassure. You're totally normal. Overcome. Here's why you might want to look at this differently. Okay? Pretty simple. Now, what happens if you might predict that objection's coming? You know the body language. The guarded person, people that won't look at you, they see something, you hand them that and you see their eyes go up. When you can predict their objection, I encourage you to draw it out first. Get them to start talking about it. And here's what you do. By the way, this one-liner is written on the FAR notes, on the FAR snapshot, and it says, okay, I'm going to write it up here. I'm guessing you're thinking. So I'm writing this down so you can see it. ... And then you can fill in the blank. So if you predict that objection's coming, I'm guessing you're thinking, fill in the deductible one, that maybe you're looking to see if you might come out ahead or if anyone can do it cheaper and that we don't have to pay your deductible. Right? Or I'm guessing you're thinking, man, his estimate looks higher than some I've seen. Or I'm guessing you're thinking, you don't want to show me the insurance paperwork because you don't quite know me yet and you want to see if I might be able to come in a little cheaper than the insurance company. So if you ever predict that coming, simply say, I'm guessing you're thinking, and then tell them what the objection that you think they're having. This is a pro-level tip that as you do more and more of these sales presentations, you will start to see, when I say this, they respond like this. When I say this, they respond like this. And now you're going to piece these top objections together, and by rehearsing them, which I give you, by the way, an assignment, the FAR assignment in today's FAR snapshot is exactly that, giving you the framework to identify those top objections and how to put them together and rehearse them in a way that allows you to deliver this naturally each and every time. And I recently ran a sales appointment with someone, and the homeowner didn't have the insurance out in this scenario, and he didn't want us to be there. So I just said to him, because he didn't say any of this, he just said, hey, I wanted you guys to come out. I'm interested in doing X, Y, and Z, but I just want to see what the insurance says first. We've all heard that one. So I said, I'm guessing you're thinking, well, I don't want any roofers there yet because I'm not ready to make a commitment because I want to see what the insurance company is going to come up with first to see if I might be able to walk away with any extra money. That's the only reason people don't want you there. You know that. You're a good salesperson. You're a smart salesperson. So as you begin to predict these, I'm guessing you're thinking, you bring up the objection before they even get a chance, and they're like, man, this guy's good. This guy knows what's going on. It ain't his first rodeo. And all of a sudden, you're like the instant FAQ section. Have you ever been shopping online? At the bottom, there's always the FAQ section. And you're like, oh man, I really want to buy that thing, but what's the return policy? FAQ. Returns. 30-day, no questions asked? Sweet. Yeah. Okay, all right, I'm ready to buy. So you're like the on-demand FAQ. So bring it up. I'm guessing you're thinking. Then slide into RAO. Acknowledge, reassure, and overcome. And by using this formula, starting right now, I promise you, you will become a closing master. You will create this experience with homeowners to close more based on how they feel, by building trust, by building credibility, and by building likability. And most importantly, you are stopping very easily that one most common mistake that many salespeople make, which is trying to overcome too soon. Remember throwing that punch? So by stopping that, you now know, all I got to do is acknowledge what they're saying, reassure them, and then overcome them. Overcome the objection, all right? And when you do that, you will sign more deals, even if you're not a great salesperson. And if you are a great salesperson, you're going to sign even more deals by following this simple practice, because people buy from people that they know, people that they like, and people that they trust. and pushy ain't likable. So you now have the 3 simple steps for the end-all objection handling formula. It is up to you to go do the work and see the results. And if you're new here, I want to help you out. Click this link right here to receive a free copy of my Pitch Like a Pro Roofing Sales Training video library. I'll send a free copy to you and you'll start receiving that FAR snapshot. Or click subscribe right here so you don't miss a thing. Can't wait to see you soon.